Eric Latif. Ndu Oko, Siti Muga is watching from home, and our guest host, Isabella Obara. How's it so far?
I love it. I've just been wondering if you do this every other day, but it's quite interesting. Possibly the fastest 4 hours of my week.
Yeah. Just like that.
Quite fast.
It was 5 a.m. just the other time.
And now
just
it's
like
9.
20 minutes ago.
Right?
Yeah.
I love it. But thanks for having me again.
Very good. Isabella is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and she's also a commissioner of oath.
Yes.
And soon, how many years left?
Now it should be notary public. A few months.
A few months
yes.
to be notary public.
I love this so much.
An advocate for human rights working with the Independent Medical Legal Unit. Now, 6 hours ago, the BBC published a new story, and it's a video and text story. BBC Africa Eye, elderly canned at Kenya's PCEA Thogoto Care Home for the Aged. Let me read just a snippet of that story. Vulnerable residents at an elderly care home near Nairobi, Kenya's capital, have been mistreated and neglected. A BBC Africa Eye investigation has revealed. Secret filming shows staff members physically mistreating residents, dumping food directly onto tables without any plates, and leaving medical conditions untreated. Hit her on the buttocks, beat her, a member of staff urges a stick-wielding colleague at the PCEA Thogoto Care Home for the Aged, which is about 20 kilometers west of Nairobi. The undercover footage shows that moments before, 3 staff dressed in purple uniforms surround an old woman by a metal gate flanked by sheets of corrugated iron at the perimeter of the home's garden. "Where were you heading to on that side?" asks one of the staff. "You were called and you refused to come back." The old woman, wearing a fleece and a bobble hat, appears confused and frightened. "Oh, please forgive me," she says. "Now we have to cane you," says one of the staff. A staff member can then be seen hitting the elderly woman's bottom with a wooden stick. This is just one example of evidence of mistreatment uncovered in the BBC Africa Eye investigation. The care home was set up by Women's Guild of the local PCEA church, but is now managed independently. It's home to around 50 elderly women and men. Over the last decade, the number of homes for the elderly is reported to have almost tripled in Nairobi. Many of them don't charge rent, and they are supported by local churches, or they rely on donations. A gut-wrenching story. It's out there. The video is out. Betrayed. Elderly Care Exposed. BBC Africa Eye documentary. Go onto YouTube and you'll find it. One of the journalists who worked on this is our next guest. Hussein Mohammed. No, not that one. Hussein Mohammed, senior investigative journalist with BBC Africa Eye, is our guest. Good morning, Hussein.
Good morning, Latif. Good morning.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hussein, you're not a guest on this show. The last time you were here, you were working with us.
Yeah.
And now you've moved on, and congratulations for all the good work that you've done.
Thank you very much.
This is a big one. This particular story, you'll tell us more about it, but let me just give you today's proverb to welcome you to the show. If Siti were here, he'd have given it to you. But now the honor falls on me. I'm 65 years old today.
Good Lord.
Right. Today's proverb is from Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, that whole region. Pick one country and say this is where it's come from, okay? Confidence is like the cooked head of a sheep. If the head is cooked well, a person will eat it. Confidence is like the cooked head of a sheep. If the head is cooked well, a person will eat it. Does it resonate?
As a pastoralist, it doesn't resonate. But I think it has a deeper meaning.
You have experience with the cooked head of a sheep.
Definitely.
Well, how is it?
Coming from where I come in the north, we are pastoralists, and the soup of the sheep or the goat is one which is really beneficial. It has nutrients. So the proverb, I think, resonates a lot in terms of what we get from. Is there a confidence? Is there the confidence
is like that?
Is like that. Yeah. So
if it's cooked well,
yes,
a person will eat it.
Exactly. Then I think above all, also not thinking about the the above meaning, the meaning that when you see, but the deeper meaning of what oozes out, the nutrients, the beneficial things. Confidence can be something bigger than what we think. Confidence can be what gets you the next job. Confidence can be what makes you to do the next story. And confidence can be what moves you from one place to another. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. It's a good interpretation of it.
I like it.
Always a fresh angle of looking at things.
Yeah, I didn't think that we'd have this given the previous guests. So the nutrition aspect didn't even come to me. So that's quite plausible if you ask me.
The thing about Proverbs, as CT always says, everybody's interpretation has a new angle and brings in a new context into it. Now, tell us about this story that 6 hours ago it was published on BBC. It talks about this particular elderly home, PCA in Thogoto. How long was this undercover work done? And what kind of undercover are we talking about?
I mean, this. Let me just start from the back. We got reports first that there is allegations of mistreatment, theft in the care home. So what we did, we sent undercover reporters who were stationed there for at least 18 months, just to try and piece up exactly what is happening. And I think from that is when we started getting small snippets of what the allegations were, turning out now to be real stories. As Africans, we all value our elderly, how we take care of our fathers. I'm sure every one of us here, how you take care of your father, your grandfather, when you come and see them, how you hug them, how you feel them. So going through footage, hours and hours and months of footage, just seeing this kind of treatment or mistreatment, for lack of a better word, for our elderly people, it was shocking. Not even shocking for us. Getting to hear from elderly men say they are willing to die. It's not something that you get to hear every day. We had the undercover reporters, some of them even switching off their cameras at some point and saying, I have to take a break. This is how emotional it was getting. Because I've done so many stories as an investigative journalist, but this one has really hit me because I think after just filming, I used to go back and see my grandparents and just see my father, say hi. You get that feeling there is something that you are lacking after going through all that process of reviewing and previewing the footage several times. It showcases a very bad scene. So yeah, it took about 18 months. We used undercover reporters who were stationed there.
18 months?
About 18 months, yeah.
Of daily recording?
Almost daily recording, depending on the weekends or if they were off, but almost daily recording, yeah.
So Mohammed, what exactly is going on here? What's going on at Thogoto?
Well, first of all, you need to have the bigger picture of what it looks like. I'm sure during Christmas or during Easter holidays or birthday parties, we all go and visit the elderly. Yes. That's the same scenario how it looks like. The place is, you come in, it's actually opposite the Kikuyu hospital. So you come in, you're received by the manager or the people there. So if you have your elderly person who wants to, you want to put him or her in a home, so you come in there. So what we found out is that they pay a fee of around 40,000.
40,000
for what?
For the person. So the person I'm bringing my father, I'm bringing my grandfather.
One of 40,000.
One of 40,000. So I'm not sure if there were more charges, but from what we got, the people who were coming, they were able to pay around 40,000. So they pay the money. They bring in your elderly person. So there are about 50 persons, as you have earlier mentioned. So essentially, when you come in, you see everything is nice. Like when you're coming for the gift, bringing as a well wisher, when you bring the gifts, everything looks good. But on the inside, at night, the recordings we were seeing during after hours when people are not there. It's really shocking, for lack of a better word. You find the elderly taking showers in the cold. You'll find, and remember Kikuyus, I'm sure you know Kikuyus, it's very cold. So
It's
you can
cold.
imagine, and I say taking shower, I don't mean how we take showers in our houses. Like a bucket being thrown, just being thrown today. I'm like, this someone wiping
Or
them.
they're being bathed.
Bathed out. Actually, they're being bathed outside
Outside.
in the cold. We also saw. I'm sure you've seen the clip. Some of them being caned. Imagine caning a 60-year-old or 50-year-old person. Just
Pause. Who is this that's bringing their elderly person to this home?
These are Kenyans. Kenyans who feel they need extra care. Some of them due to the current situation in the country, the economy, or these are Kenyans who cannot afford to take care of their parents. So they think this can be a good place. And remember, it's run by the church, so they feel this is a safe place for them. For my
It's reliable, dependable.
yeah. There's food from the world wishes which is brought occasionally. I mean, we have even seen top banks also bringing food.
Do the people visit their kin?
Sorry?
When I bring my elderly person there, many of those that have been brought, are they visited by their family?
Some of them are visited.
So there are some who are not.
Some were not. Actually, most of them we were there are not visited, but some are visited by their families. The well wishers are the ones who really visit a lot. From what we gathered in the few months that were almost a year and a half we were there. But the key thing that we found out is that these people have families. If you trace back, they have families, but some families also do not want to take care of them. Others really care. So there's one person who had really gone through a rough process. We called him Mwangi in the film. He needed treatment. You could see blood stains all over his body. You could see the skin peeling off. It was, and he's saying he's ready to die. No one is taking care of him. So the undercover reporter is asking him, so what will you do? He says, I don't know what to do. It's itchy. You can even see he's breathing hard. It's very itchy for him. He really wants something for the pain. So for a long time when we stayed there, no one took him to the hospital. So later he got a chance. One of his family members came, and they found him in a very, very sad situation. I think he got help later. That's after a few months. So this is some of the things that we were able to showcase. There are lots of things that we were not able to showcase, but on the bottom line, it is a very sad story. It's a very sad situation here in Kenya, as Africans, just letting to see our parents, our grandfathers, our elders just going through all that.
Hussein, in the same vein, because you're saying as Africans, this is not ordinarily what we normally see in our setting. In the West, it's very prominent. It's something that you do once you hit possibly a certain age, 55, 60, you're taken somewhere, and it's properly structured, right? Here, we normally just take care of our parents. So while you're doing this particular assignment, do you get to find out exactly why these people are here? Is it because of health reasons? Is it primarily because they don't have people to take care of them? Is it maybe do they just want camaraderie, or do they just want to be with their mates? What exactly is this that's putting them in this particular space? And also, do we then see that they stay there forever? Is it now because you're here, we'll never discharge you if it's a hospital setting or whatever? Do you stay there up until you die? Or are there chances or maybe instances, in the period of the 18 months that you saw some of their family members coming to pick them?
That's a very good question. I think while we were doing our research in the beginning of the story, once we got the story, just to try and we're getting the prima facie evidence and everything, we also wanted to know why there is an increase in people getting to these homes. Normally, it's not the African setting. We take care of our parents and take care of our grandfathers. But we noticed in the last decade, like 10 years, the life expectancy has grown here in Kenya. So the number of people who are now taking their people to care homes is increasing. For instance, here in Kenya, we have 30 care homes. but only 3 are run by the government. Only 3. That is in Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kirinyaga that are run by the government. So you can imagine the other 27 are either private, run by a church, or run by well-wishers. So it is increasing, and the government is trying to build a new one in Kilifi. Is not yet up, but the last 10 years, these things has been increasing. We are also shocked during our investigation to see that not only elders who are above a certain age, even some who are 40, 50, 60, we would thought probably from above 70 to 80, you see they're the ones who need help, but people are coming in early in these care homes.
Sure. Okay. So, so I just want to build on that, especially because you mentioned something to do with prima facie. So let's base this discussion within the maybe the normative and institutional framework for promoting, and protecting rights of aged persons. Yeah. So it's the government's obligation to ensure that they take care of vulnerable groups. Article 57 of the Constitution of Kenya, and so we already have that particular effort seen in 3 of the government institutions. Now, why I'm trying to place this in the law is because the traditional definition of torture still remains, that it's a public officer in the official capacity harming mentally or physically. That particular definition has remained the same, but now the settings are changing. So in the 60s, 70s, we had torture for political opponents, silencing people. But now, what it is that you're doing is quite timely, especially because it's opening up space for discussion where we are seeing torture moving from politics to now maybe juvenile homes. We are seeing it moving now to the spaces that you're talking about. And given that particular definition and where it has moved, so these particular 3 government institutions would be something that human rights officers would be looking at. So did you, at any particular point, work around this? I've given you the framework as is, and now we've domiciled it in the government. Do we have anything related to this particular 3 government institutions at whatever point?
That's a very good question. I think from the onset, once we set out to do any story, we have to know what are we selling, what is the reason behind us telling this story, and of course it's not just to do an expose, it's also to showcase, as you can see in the program later, we showcase a good home, what a good home looks like. We went to Nyeri, we showcased what a good home looks like. We also went to the government, reached out to the permanent secretary, the principal secretary for social protection and the elder citizen affairs, just to talk to him. Do you know this is happening? Because according to what you have mentioned, their mandate also is to supervise and see what is happening in these other 27 homes.
Yes.
And of course, he said that he's going to look into it, which we really hope that he does, because this is just one home. I think from the last 6 hours since the story has been up, everyone is just texting in saying, I know a similar story, or someone is saying, I used to take food there. So it is something which is really starting to happen. People are now talking about it. And that is the essence. The essence for us is we stand by our investigation, not only just to expose and leave. We also try and look for solutions, and that's why we showed people what a good home looks like. We gave also background to tell people that yes, we are Africans, not our usual time to leave our parents, but things could be changing, and if they're changing, how are we handling them? So it was a whole background of research, background of where we are heading as a country, because at the end of the day also we have to look into the laws of the country. What does it say in terms of social protection, in terms of protecting the rights of these people? Because no one, if you are living, you are these elders here, no one is coming to them. Who is protecting them?
The laws, the laws are there.
Exactly.
I do think that every day that we see things like this, we're looking at the staggering degeneration of morals. It doesn't matter what area, what sector you want to look at. It's clear that is happening. I'm curious as to who did these journalists pose as? Because nighttime, you're not going to walk into a home and say, well, I want to spend the night. No. Who did they pose as?
So we were very. That's a very good question. We were very careful in terms of selection of our undercover. First of all, one of our undercover, I think, as we have mentioned in the film, is someone who has been in this industry for caregiving. And you can see when she says that, the first question when they ask you when you go for a caregiving interview, are you here for the money or are you passionate? So more passion is what drives most people who do caregiving. So for her, it was more traumatizing. For her, she's an experienced person who has been doing this for some time. But you can tell how the narrative has changed, because when the undercover reporter, who is a caregiver, when they went, there were two of them. When they went in there, they were expecting to see something different, because we got allegations. So they were expecting because they believe as a caregiver there are things you should never do.
Yes.
So they were expecting to see that something different. But when they arrived there, at some point, one of them switched off the camera and cried in the toilet.
Wow.
Yeah, because it was overwhelming just to see someone with pain. But you find someone, the food has been poured down, then your hands are shaking. The elderly hands are shaking. She cannot eat. Someone has to feed her, but she's left there. So she doesn't have breakfast. She doesn't have lunch. The food is poured, so she's picking one item, struggling. So these are scenes that we were seeing in all the footage that we recorded here.
Anyway, I want to go to a break just quickly. From what then you were able to gather, are the guests, I'm going to call them guests, at the care home privileged to speak to family members regularly? Can they call their people? Can their people call them to find out how they're doing? Does that ever happen?
Unfortunately, when we were there, it didn't happen.
Over the 18 months, people did not call their people?
When they called their people, they are painted that things are okay.
So they don't speak to them directly?
No. So some of them have phones. Some of them have phones.
Some of the elderly people have phones.
Yes, some of them have phones. The ones who have been there for some time, they have phones.
Right.
But you'll find that when there's a situation that needs to be reported, like for instance, Mwangi, who we call Mwangi. So he was not feeling well. He had blastings. You could see his skin is spilling off. So Mwangi had a phone, tried to call. But when you, as a person who was an elder there, when you call in, I want to check on my person, how are they doing? Of course, they will tell you probably he's busy, they are feeding him now, he's taking a shower. But
they're asleep.
Or they're asleep or something. But even if when you come as a well-wisher
to visit,
they put in new bed sheets, new. So you get to see
lovely rosy story,
and they're seeing it. I mean, you see from the clip, they're noticing. The elderly, they're not foolish. They're seeing it.
They can see.
They're seeing their food. You as a well-wisher coming with food, and then suddenly the food is being put in a car. They're seeing it's going. Then they are being told this food is going to another care home. So they're asking, why don't they take it to the care home straight? Why they bring it here? And then so they are seeing it, and they're saying it in the clips. You can see it. Like, why are they taking us to be fools? So it's something that it's very sad. Yeah.
The conversation we're having this morning is around this news story by the BBC Africa Eye, which is exposing what's happening at a particular elderly care home in Togoto. And 18 months of work has gone into this, and what they're showing basically is the mistreatment that these elderly people get. And let's just say they're getting the mistreatment from the staff at this particular home. They're getting mistreatment also from, in many cases, their family members as well, who bring them there and they don't even come back to check up on them, and they don't follow up. So what the BBC have done is, over the past 18 months, they've actually had investigative undercover journalists working on this story in this particular elderly care home, where after they got a report that there's something that's wrong that's happening in this home, they started on this work, and they've been recording this for all that time. Elderly people are brought to this particular home. It was established by the PCEA, Thogoto, by the Women's Guild. It's now run privately. People are brought here to be taken care of. Some family members bring people and they don't come back. Others bring people and they come and visit them regularly. But then well-wishers will come with food, with beddings, with clothes, with everything, bringing to this home. what the story is revealing is that some of these things don't even get to the intended beneficiaries. And that's why we were going into a break, and that's what you were saying. Some of this food is brought and then it's carted away. Where is it taken to?
We tried to follow where the food is taken, but we were not able to know where it's taken. But what we were able to gather is that the car that the food is put is a car one of the staff members inside their home. So occasionally, mostly weekends, when well-wishers come in to visit, and they come in with different things from unga to oil to you can see from the clip one of them saying like beans, they love beans and chapati. So most of them they are taken away from them. They go to what they are told. The elders, they are told that it has gone to a different home.
The food is going to a different home.
Yes, but we were able to try and follow. We saw the food was packed into a car. Occasionally the same car of one of the staff members there. And then they drive off. So every time that there is well-wishers coming, one of the staff members, including Jane, who is the director, they come in, take the food. The food actually is put in the private room, like more of a boardroom. They're locked in there with a key. So when they come in, the food is taken back, put in the car. Actually, the most interesting thing is that one of the elderly guys is the one who helps them.
The prefect.
Yes, to take the food there from the boardroom into the car. So it's something that has really, so I would say, it's defrauding Kenyans, because you are bringing your food there, knowing that it's going to someone.
You're coming to support this particular community, and then they are not the ones who are benefiting from your intended support.
Exactly.
What is the general health condition of what to call them, the guests in this particular care home? Are they ill? Are there some of them who have terminal conditions? What's their mental state? How are they?
Some of them are ill. One of them who we have featured in, could see he had like a skin infection or skin problem. He's bleeding all over his body. Some of them are old. They have problems for probably eating. Some of them can't walk very well. But some are okay. Some help each other. Most of them help each other, because the staff members there don't really help. You find someone is struggling, for instance, to wake up. So if they fall down at night, so till the next morning,
nobody's going to support them.
Nobody's going to support them. So
Latif, I'm seeing something interesting, and I wanted to catch it before it goes on the comments. So Black Signam, sorry if I got it wrong, he's saying Kenya is one of the countries that has ratified the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the rights of older persons. Do national laws reflect the articles of the Charter, and are they being enforced? So 2 questions. Do national laws reflect the Charter? Hell yes. We have the Retirement Benefits Act. We have the Social Assistance Act. We have the People Living with Disabilities Act. We have the NHIF Act. And even outside these particular laws, we already have the Constitution as is. Yeah, I know Ndu and Latif are calling them guests. I'll call them victims without prejudice. These particular victims are already covered, Article 57 and Article 260, where they're defined, so that if you're above 60 years of age, then you're already elderly. So with respect to the national laws, we have that. But now enforcement and implementation is then something we can discuss, because from what it is that you've already seen in the 18 months, then enforcement or implementation is in question.
This is the thing. And when you look at the reality of the situation on the ground, Mohammed, we can talk about the law.
Yes.
But you know what it is? Is that it's a silver packaging around rot.
Yeah. It's an academic exercise.
So there can be the law.
Yes.
And that's why I talked about the degeneration of morals. People just have bad manners, and people are misbehaving. Why? Because they can. The law notwithstanding. Do you think the person, and Mohammed, maybe you can get me wrong, say I'm wrong on this, but the person who is tossing food on the table, or the person who sees a situation, it is cold. Let's talk about right now even. It is cold. It is not common sense that anybody, not just an elderly person, anybody taking a bath, you're supposed to be taking care of this person, taking a bath at night, and you're pouring cold water on them. Is it the law that is going to say that this person should not do that? No, it is this person who is behaving badly.
And I totally
And they
agree with
don't
you.
stop
Yes.
because they don't have to. They behave that way because they can. And that was my next question. Who is in a position of authority in this place? Who is the one who is supposed to be going around
What's the management structure?
making sure that
Let's start
everything
from,
is
so this thing was started by the Women's Guild of the PCA.
Yes.
And then, so this was church.
Yes.
Now you say it's private. So what's the management structure? Who's in charge of this?
So
who's the boss? Who oversights them?
So as you put it, the Women's Guild are the one who officially started this thing, run by the PCA Church, but they have a director. She's called Jane Gaturu. I think we asked her for right of reply for the story, and then they have a board. They have a board. The board members who sit almost. Probably we have seen them mostly almost every week they come in. So they have a director and board members, but essentially everything revolves around Jane. She is the in charge person.
Okay.
Like if you're coming in with your person you want to bring him or her in, you have to meet Jane. If there's a problem that you have to meet Jane. Jane is the one who sort you out.
Okay.
So she's the one who's running the old station, but I think we have spoken about government interference or how government should come in and try and monitor. I don't think that has been really happening.
So what kind of licensing do they have?
Yeah.
Because if you're running this thing, are you running it as just a home? So do you have any form of structure, license? Are they registered? So they're registered as a foundation, as a charity, as a society.
As a private, it's more of a private.
Limited.
Entity. Yes, a private entity.
Limited by what? By guarantee? But
what we got is the private entity and more of a charity.
Okay.
Yes, more of a charity.
Is there anything from? This is the Kiambu County.
Yes.
Do they get anything from the Kiambu County government?
We're not sure if they do get anything from the Kiambu County. What we
in
are
terms
sure
of licensing, permits, nothing.
We're not sure of that. What we are sure of is that the church, the PCA church, is like the lead for them. So you'll find the women.
It's the Mother Institute organization.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
There is a State Department for Social Protection.
Yes, there is.
Right now, it's under the Ministry of Aisha Jumo's ministry.
Yeah.
Public service, gender, and all. And we have social officers at county level, at sub-county level. Are any of them involved in oversighting this facility?
They have to.
To the best of your knowledge, did you, throughout these 18 months, is there a visit that is paid by any government authority to come and inspect?
We have not seen that. If they came in and we were not there, but when our undercover reporters were there, we did not encounter that. And we asked the PS. We showed him this is what we have gotten in the last few months that we were here. He said this is a trouble situation. He says that he will check, look into it, but we have not seen that.
Can we go back to Jane for a minute?
Yeah.
Does Jane know what's happening here with her? Okay, I'm assuming that Jane, the overall, as you said, the people who are perpetrating these crimes, because that's what Isabella wants to. It's a crime.
Yes,
these are
it's a
victims.
crime,
Yeah.
yes.
Who are doing these things, perpetrating these crimes? Does Jane know that her people are doing these things? Is she aware from any indication that you got?
If she's aware, but then I think she's leading a very different and troubled place. If she's aware, because what we got from is that we know that some of her staff, and we have put it to her. Even during the right of reply, some of her staff were seen doing this. Even we saw you doing this and this and this. So in terms of the theft of food, we have seen food going. Is it true that you accept this allegation? So what Jen said is that. She termed it as malice.
By you now?
Yes, this is malice. This is untruth. And you can see from the clip. So if Jane is aware of could be or could not be, we're not sure. But the head caregivers there really don't care. for lack of a better word, because what we have gotten from the clips that we are seeing, you can see one of them saying, I think she's pretending. Like when an elder asks something, she's pretending she can walk or he can do this. So it's like they don't care for it's a care home, but they don't care. Yeah.
I'm grateful that you're bringing light to these areas that we normally don't focus on mostly, especially when it comes to, inhumane and degrading treatment. But again, to go back to that person who was asking, so the laws are there, but we are not doing well, for sure, as is in so many other aspects. But I'm wondering whether now for the 27 other maybe organizations, have you possibly had a chat with them and what was the feel of staff? Because then you're able to feel. And also during this particular 18 months, at whatever point did you have any instance where there was possibly some procedure for any form of misconduct from the employees? I'm trying to see, because if you are saying that this particular Jane doesn't know or may know, 1 year, 6 months would be enough to see if it is a culture ingrained in their working systems or it's something that is a bit different and you just caught them at a bad time.
I think I just speak it up from where I left. I think it's a culture. It's a culture ingrained there because we were, even what the elders are telling us, that it has been happening. We just came and found it, but it has been happening. This is how they have been staying. When the undercover reporters speak to the elders, they say, "Oh no, we are just waiting to die." That's what they're saying. We're just waiting to die. We have not got medical attention. The food, we are seeing it just passing by us. Yeah. So that's to get to your question. Jane may not know or may know or may not know. But for me, where we see as BBC, what we got is that this is a culture, because not only one caregiver, like different caregivers could do the same thing. Okay. Yeah.
So on average, how long have these particular people stayed in this home? I'm trying to make a case for it's a culture. This is what we ordinarily do, and even if you had the very best of caregivers, this is exactly what the system looks like. So for, let's say, Mwangi that you keep referring to, for how long has he been in this particular institution? Did you have an average or of these 50 people?
Yeah. There are some who have been there for the last 5 years. There are some. We also got one who came in during that 18 months. Came in and left.
So 10 toes down, you didn't catch them at a bad time?
No. Okay. This is something which has been happening. You know about the prima facie. So before we got in, we had to spend time, before we started recording, we had to spend time just taking notes of what's happening. And it was happening during that time. So this is aside from the 18 months. So we had to spend time just taking notes and trying to see, is it something that is cultured in or ingrained in, or is it something that just happened by fluke, just one person did it. But what we found out is that different caregivers do almost the same thing.
So if we're looking at an overarching, principle here, and I'm going to link it to a story that you did in the past. I think one of the ones that we discussed here about more or less the same kind of behavior now towards children, right? And it was happening with children. Interesting enough, you did that story whereby the people in a position of authority or management also, let loose on how they're supposed to behave. And so now we're looking at two sets of vulnerable people here, children. And now in this case, we're looking at older people, the elderly, who cannot care for themselves by virtue of age or because of illness or whatever be. So now we're looking at a principle whereby in an institution where there's no oversight, and that the authorities that be in terms of checking and making sure things are all right, because people are not checking, because there's really nobody to answer to, are we seeing now this is where these situations now worsen based on what you've done and seen?
No, I agree with you. I mean, for over time that when we tell these stories, there's a reason why we bump into these stories, because there are areas where people don't really focus on. And if they focus on, there's not much put into it. Because one, you can see, for instance, this place is run by well-wishers. You bring in your food, So not much people when Africans or Kenyans, we are used to, when you come to see your elders, when you come to see people who are ill, there's that feeling of, oh, let's give him, let's give her, so no one really cares of exactly what is happening behind the scenes. So for us, that behind the scenes is what motivated us. And I agree with you. This 27 or all of them, or 30 care homes should be really supervised and checked in. Probably things could be getting worse, or probably there are no systems in check. Because, for instance, having gone through all those months just recording and filming all this, it hits you that the system is not working.
Yeah.
For instance, you cannot say an elderly person is sick. So what do? Do we let him die? There's no medicine. There's nothing. They're not given anything.
Yeah.
For instance, the Mwangi, you could see from his body this is a clear indication that this guy is ill. He's peeling off.
And
there's blood. He's even screaming, "I'm in pain. I'm in pain." What do you do? So if there's nothing you do in that situation, then the broader picture of how to take care of everything.
And you are adjacent to a hospital.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the irony. That's the irony.
And what's confusing even further is that is it charitable or is it profit making? There's a fee that's paid when you're bringing this particular person. You mentioned a fee of 40,000 Kenya shillings, but you're also telling us that it's a charitable. So what is this particular entity? I'm wondering, where do we even domicile it in the law? Because you can't be making profits and be charitable at the same time. So what exactly are you doing? Because if it's charitable, then this particular, whatever it is that you receive is fully for these people.
Yeah.
At no particular point do you have to transfer it. It's not transferable. And if you're profit making, then you owe these people. They have a legitimate expectation of the services. Because when I'm paying this 40,000, then I should know exactly that my uncle is going to receive this and this and this. And they're not receiving.
Talking about the services, there's money that the government pays to the elderly. I'm sure we all know that.
Yep.
Yes.
So this money that is being paid to the elderly, that's what the caregivers say. But they have gotten their money. They will. So this most of the time, even the elders, they are afraid when the money comes. We have had situations where they have had to hide their money under the blankets. Their money gets lost. So there is a lot which is happening that we were not able to put inside the documentary. So they also get money that comes in from the government.
But they have to be taken to the bank.
To the M-Pesa shop
To withdraw their money.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there is a lot which is happening that we were not able to tell. But for us, our main focus was just to focus on this
And the
mistreatment.
behind the scenes mistreatment.
Yes.
How's the recruitment process here? How does one get to work in such a home?
So I'll answer that from how we got to get recruited. So we applied. One of the undercovers, they applied for a job. Met Jane, discussed with Jane. So the good thing that they have a background with caregiving.
Yeah.
These are people who are passionate and they have been doing. And just to know that when they were there, they were able to help.
Yeah.
They were able to help.
They were actually working.
They were able to give them, at times they were also bribed. They were given foodstuffs to go home. They refused, and they returned. And you can see the clip. They returned the money. So the recruitment happened that we came in. There's no application as such. Just it was a walk-in, a doorstep. They met Jane. Jane vetted them for some time. Then says come back again, and eventually
They were employed.
They were employed, and then they worked there for some time. Yeah.
Are there some positive things that you came across in these 18 months? I mean, is it all doom, gloom, or are there some positive stories?
Well, when you say positive, for me, what was positive is how the well-wishers come in. Like you could see people strolling in with foodstuffs, people happy, people coming in, people are doing birthdays there, people are doing events there, people come in, schools, children come in and want to play with them, with the fathers and the grandfathers who are there. We could see the joy of the people. But on the contracts, after that finishes, we go back to a similar situation of worry and mistreatment and anxious moments.
But are there people who work there besides the undercover?
Yes, there are people.
Are there people who work there and who mean well, and they try to do well?
There are people who work there. We got one of them who really knew what was happening, but didn't want to get involved. So they came or did his thing and left. So there are people who do They
So
know.
came, saw the rot, and quit.
And no, they come, they do their
job,
the
goes
job
for the day,
Okay.
and goes home. And we have not gotten any information of him doing.
So, you know what I'm looking at is clearly if the director vetted your person and were not able to pick out the bad side of the person and give them the job based on the bad side of the person, it means that the director is actually looking for people who mean well, who can work well, right? It means that she's looking at somebody who's got the qualities of the people that you send.
Yeah.
So how do they turn and just become horrible people? Because clearly they are not recruited on the basis of how mean
They are.
you are.
Yeah.
It's what Isabella was talking about in terms of culture.
It's a culture. It's a culture that just absorbs you.
Yes. And you could see from when we do the debriefing from for the undercovers, it's overwhelming for them. Like we always give them time to speak because
Right.
there's a lot which they saw, there's a lot which they recorded, but there's a lot that goes into the head. Even up to now, like they speak about it. You know, these are people who have been taking care of the elderly for some time. So when they see that no one is reaching out to them, no one is even talking to them, people are caning grandmothers. I mean, it's sad.
Hussein, your undercover people have done a good job, and I hope you know that by their proximity to these particular acts, they require psychotherapy almost immediately, and I'm hoping that you're doing that, because if you are in the line of torture for that long, there's something that snaps inside you that requires some form of support. So I'm hoping that they are getting that.
The BBC takes seriously in terms of the safety and protection of any contributor, any undercover, any journalist, including us who have been into this. So in terms of the psychosocial well-being, in terms of follow-ups, in terms of just debriefing moments, these are what we call post-TX, after it has gone on air. What do we do? So we have to think about that. It's not only just telling the story and leaving it out. It's just telling and influencing policy, telling and bringing change.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hussein.
Hussein Mohammed, senior investigative journalist with the BBC Africa Eye. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And good job with you and the entire team that worked on this particular story.
Thank you for having
It's called Betrayed, Elderly Care Exposed. And this is about the PCA Thokoto Care Home for the Aged. You can go and find it on YouTube.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.